What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rebel Yankee Podcast, where it's God first, guts, and guns. I'm your host, Jam Bacchus, and joining me today is Jason Riley from All Out Adventures.
What's
Welcome,
up,
Jason.
everybody?
Appreciate you coming. Jason filled in. I had a last-minute cancel on my guest, and Jason just
Jumped right
in. We know each other for about 10 minutes in person and probably a month or two on social media, so really pleased to have you.
I'm happy to be here. It's fun. It's always fun doing something different, meeting somebody new, and jumping full head first into this deal with this relationship.
That's so awesome. If you don't mind, Jason, just tell us in a few sentences who you are and what you do.
Yeah, Jason with All Out Adventures. I manage a bird hunting ranch in Colorado. I also own a hog hunting ranch in Texas, working on a fishing lodge in northern Michigan, primarily a hunting fishing guide, train dogs. Now I'm trying to be content creator, which is not great, but working on that.
You actually do a really good job.
I appreciate that. You're the one. Oh my gosh, thank you.
That's funny. Well, Jason, on today's episode, we are going to talk about living for Christ, preparedness in this world and the next. We're going to talk about all out everything, all the things that you going on, and then we're going to talk about avoidance, which I kind of tie to the recent news out of Minnesota.
Okay.
As a disclaimer, we're just a couple dudes that love the Lord. We are not pastors or teachers, although Jason used to be a youth pastor out in Parker, Colorado. We encourage you to open up your Bibles and look at these verses for yourself and see what they stir up in you. Your sin isn't any sinnier than our sin, and I'm talking to ourselves, and we're talking to ourselves just as much, if not more, than we're talking to anybody else. We are not perfect. My mom asked me, she's like, "Is sinnier a word?" I'm like, "Well, it may not be in a dictionary, but
the sinniest.
Yes, your sin is sinnier than mine. Not really, though, right? If you ever watch the show, Jason, we take care of kingdom business first.
Yeah.
I like to talk about how God's moving in our lives currently. Okay. And you could go first if you got something to say.
Yeah. I'm struggling with, and it's funny how, when you really start like, hey, where's your walk at with Christ at the moment? It tends to be generally on a negative, like something is not going quite right. And that's when we want to push towards Christ, which is horrible. Like we should be having the same walk all the time, right? But I notice at the moment I'm struggling, therefore I'm pushing more, leaning more on God and Christ Jesus for that. But it's the social media presence that I'm trying to come up with. I'm trying to be cool enough to get new followers, but I'm still trying to like not pass the line to where you're so un-Christ-like that people don't see that in you. But to be cool enough for the cool guys to get a lot of followers and views and all the things. So I'm just struggling with this, trying to, I don't know how to present myself.
Sure.
So that's my biggest thing. So I've been leaning on, I've been praying more about it and trying to come up with that happy medium to where you could still be a cool guy. You can still do all the neat things and whatever. And just, you don't have to use as much bad language, or not that I don't say some here and there, stuff like that. But, sure. It's like trying to find that line, but just really asking for guidance on that. So I've been really working on that myself.
Nice. Yeah, just watching your content, I mean, there's nothing vulgar about it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
You know what I mean? So I think you're doing a really good job. And I remember years ago when I attended Flatirons Church, actually one of the first sermon series I went to there, my buddy Vinny was, they did a special on my buddy Vinny, and the name of the series was Grow a Pair. And when it was really talking about, you don't need to check your balls at the front door to be a good Christian, right? But also, we don't want to conform to the world, right?
And their views of what we should be, right?
Oh, like that guy is so cool. Yeah, it's easy to be a Christian.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there does need to be a separation, but I agree, finding that fine line. But I always get a kick out of it. Like, for example, and you're an upland bird hunter. Have you heard of Longmeadow out in?
Yeah, I've been there a few times.
Okay, yeah. So I did a hunt out there.
Beautiful place.
Yeah, great place. And the guide, we're getting ready to shoot. And he was like, I'm going to pray. You guys don't need to if you don't want to, but I always pray before we hunt.
Yeah.
And man, that just lit me up. Bro.
Right.
And I'm an instructor. And because he did it, now I do it in my classes. Like, listen, we're going to pray. If you're not the praying type, that's fine. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and that's exactly where my point is like, you know, I do feel compelled to do that at times, but then, you know, you are going to push some people away. You know, people are going to be like, oh man, this guy's super churchy, you know, and things like that. And they're going to be like, I don't know about that, you know, and, you know, but then you are going to catch guys like yourself, but you're kind of already in that frame of mind. So you're like, wow, that is really awesome for me specifically.
Right.
You know, so it's trying to find that for me, it's trying to find that still let people see Christ through me.
Right.
Without being overly churchy to other people that are like, oh man, that's too much for me, you know?
Sure.
So it's trying to find that interesting line. And a little bit of a long story, and I'll try to cut it as short as I can. No. I've kind of struggled with this throughout my life, especially doing construction work with a lot of super vulgar language and, you know, things like that. And I noticed the more people I hang out with like that, you tend to be like you hang out with, right?
Sure.
That whole, you know, birds of a feather flock together or whatever. But, there was a guy that I knew that was probably the nicest guy all the way around that I've ever met. And he was absolute follower. He would go to prisons and pray with prison inmates and all this other kind of stuff. And he was the guy that never, ever cussed. And in construction, and everybody loved that guy. So it absolutely works. It's just, sometimes it's hard, you know, it's hard to be like that, you know, but he wasn't overly churchy. He was just an extremely nice guy and genuine, and that shines and shows through in people, you know?
Yep. I get it. Trevor and I have talked about it. You know, sometimes the best way to bring people to Christ is set the example.
Right.
Like, wow, I want some of what like Jason's got going on. Look at him. He's a bird guide. He owns a hunting ranch. You know, he's got these dogs. And
I have a lot going on. I don't know if it's all good or glamorous, but I have a lot going on.
and he loves the Lord. Like, that's so cool. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I get it. Appreciate you sharing that and being vulnerable and open about that. Man, last week on the show, I talked about friendships with the opposite sex, dating and abstinence, right? So I've done dating and marriage wrong every time, right? I'm 53 years old. I've been divorced for a year.
Tried it a few times, huh?
Yeah, I mean, especially dating. I mean, I grew up in the world, and like I learned how to objectify women, and I learned how to, you know, the prettier or the more, or, you know, you attach your identity to that. That's what I thought a man was, you know what I mean? And I was really wrong, you know? And, you know, some of it has to do with the age, but, you know, as I matured, or, you know, even in my last marriage, it was a little different, but still not right, you know? But I'm at the point now where, you know, I took a year off of dating intentionally.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm starting to date again, and I really want to do it the right way.
You're right.
And you want to talk about difficult.
I bet.
You know? But I happened to meet a lady that wants the same thing.
Okay.
You know? But she also comes from, you know, the world, you know, where used to doing it the wrong way too. So we started talking about this last week, and, you know, this is really uncharted waters for me and her.
And is she a believer?
She's a believer.
Oh, that does help.
She sold out.
And I think I've noticed that is it's always a great place to start, because you gotta have that baseline, that structure foundation. Not that we all don't vary from that foundation daily, if not multiple times a day, but to at least be able to come back to an understanding and agreement, like, okay, this is probably how we should run our lives and our relationship. Let's try to keep coming back to this, you know?
Yeah, we call it being equally yoked, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you have to be, there's a Bible verse, I forget the verse, but it talks about being equally yoked, because, you know, even if you're just believers, that may not be enough, you know?
Yeah.
Let's say, you know, she's devoted her whole life to Christ, and I'm going to church on Sundays. I believe in God, but I'm a heathen during the week. Yeah, that's not really going to work. Like, I'm either going to bring her down, or she could possibly, or vice versa.
It could go the other way.
We're both sold out for God, you know, so that helps. But my vision of what's okay and what's not okay, I thought was pretty strict. The Bible's pretty clear about a few things.
It's pretty strict.
It's pretty strict, right? And I thought, okay, well, here's the boundaries. We've talked about the boundaries, you know, but then there was these other things where it's like, well, maybe that's okay. And nothing vulgar, but like, you know. So I'm now, I'm a catechumen in an Orthodox Christian church. And sometimes what I'll do, so I don't email my priest 15 times a day with questions, because there's so many, I'll get on ChatGPT, and what I do is I preface my question from an Orthodox priest perspective based on scripture. What about this?
Wow. Okay. So you're necking it down tight.
Yeah. And I mean, there's still some things I want to check in with my priest about.
Yeah.
But it breaks it down. It backs it up with scripture. Yeah. It backs it up with the saints, with the church father. Like, if it's wrong, I would be surprised.
Right.
I understand chat could be wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway,
but get you in a good start.
I'm reading this, and there's a more disciplined view than what I had, right?
Yeah.
And I'm reading this Thursday morning, right? And I honestly, I got angry. I'm like,
at yourself or at
what I was
the
reading.
words? Okay.
Yeah, I was just like, this is lame. This is really lame. Like, yeah, I want to live for Christ, but I'd also, I'd like to, entertain this or entertain that. And again, it wasn't anything like crazy, but it's just really strict. But the point, like, orthodoxy doesn't shame desires, etc., but it doesn't want to cheapen it.
Okay.
Right? It's really, it sets married things apart for married people. And if what you're doing is imitating marriage, they strongly advise against it.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm upset though, and I'm driving to work and I'm listening to some Orthodox chants and I'm praying. And every day when I park at work, I back into my spot and then I open up my daily verse that I have, my little Devo. It's real short. And there's, I think, 5 people I send it to. So I open it up and it's Galatians 2:20.
Uh-oh. This is going to be right on what you're talking about. I got it.
Oh my gosh. I open up Galatians 2:20 and it says, "It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me." And man, it just like bloodied my mouth a little bit. You know what I mean? And then the Devo was, to live as a Christian is to be united to Christ so fully that our own ego and self-will are crucified with him. It is no longer we who live, but Christ who lives in us, shaping our hearts and directing our steps. Bro, the anger that I had, it just went away.
Yeah.
That, like, reading that was just healing. And it was like, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing all this. I've done it wrong my whole life. And I'm on a path to doing it the right way. And it's really working, Even I was watching a clip of 50 Cent. 50 Cent took a vow. He said celibacy, and that's wrong because celibacy is for life. Okay. Abstinence is a temporary thing, right? Okay. And he even said, like, when sex isn't the goal, you start seeing
things
people
differently.
You start seeing people for who they really are.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of men specifically, not that it's just men by themselves, but a lot of manipulation happens in dating to just try to get to that goal.
Right.
And it is a goal for a lot of young men that's not a great goal to have, but unfortunately that's just nature of that situation in a lot of cases. And it seems like they say things that they normally wouldn't say. They do things they normally wouldn't do. And they're doing all these things just for a common goal. If that goal is not that is not your goal anymore, well, it changes everything.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, I totally see that.
Yeah, so that's how God slapped me around this week, and I invited that. I mean, it was really good to come across that and just be reminded and just get refocused. You know what I mean? And so that was my week.
Wow.
Yep. So I want to talk about preparedness in this world versus next. So funny, my childhood best friend Timmy. Yesterday, he says to me, bro, like, where do you get the verses for this show? And I'm like, it just really depends. Sometimes, like, I got something going on in my life where it's very clear what I want to talk about. And I thought I was going to talk about more what we just talked about. And this morning, I get up and I'm on TikTok and I see your reel.
Oh?
I see your reel titled, "The Work Starts Long Before the Hunt."
Oh.
Right?
Not my line, ChatGPT, but no, it did hit home for me as well because that is a true life statement, right? Right,
and it made me think of how we prepare for things in this world, but we should also be preparing for the next world. We prepare for home defense, hunting. That's probably the thing I prepare for most in my life is going hunting. Yeah. Big game hunting, like. I mean, I just got done in October and November. I'm
already looking at maps and already figuring things out.
You know, what toy do I want next year that'll help
what
me?
more gear do I want? What more toys? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, I barely got the elk in the freezer and I'm already prepared for the next one. Fighting, you know, talking to Trevor, or if you know fighters, they prepare for, 8, 10, you know, they're always preparing for a fight. Health, food prep, emergencies. You probably have like a little emergency stuff in your truck, I'd almost imagine.
Lots. Oh yeah.
We prepare for storms, for travel, for careers, for retirement, right? But if we put this much effort into preparing for
our day-to-day lives,
how much more should we be preparing our souls
for eternity?
Yes, exactly. So I got some scriptures I want to go over, and this is about the worldly preparedness. Number 1, food and supplies. This is Proverbs 6:6-8. It says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard." And I looked up sluggard. Another word for sluggard is lazy bones. Okay.
I have moments like that.
"Consider her ways and be wise, which having no captain, overseer, or ruler, provides her supplies in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest." Right? The ESV Study Bible said, "The sluggard is instructed to observe the careful labor of the ant, so he might gain wisdom and heed the warning about the result of his sloth. The ant is called wise in laboring for its provision. The fact that the ant has no chief officer or ruler shows it has initiative, which the sluggard lacks." Right? So that's something that we do all the time. You know, it's like, hey, I want to be able to eat next week. I'm going to go to work this week.
So I have money to go buy food, right?
To go buy food. Or maybe we have a dry food kit in our truck, or, freeze dried, like, whatever the case may be, right? Or we go hunting and we stack up, Do you have a bunch of goose meat at home, I'm imagining?
I try to get rid of it because I don't like it. But someone is eating it. I promise that. But
nice.
That, or we'll build it all up and we'll do other stuff with it. But yes.
Like snack sticks and
for
stuff.
For sure.
Like that.
That's about the best way to do it. But yes.
Yep. Okay. The next verse I got is Genesis 41:33-36. This is probably the most famous verse in the Bible about being prepared. "Now, therefore, let the Pharaoh select a discerning and wise man and set him over the land of Egypt. Let the Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land to collect 1/5 of the produce of the land in Egypt in the 7 plentiful years, and let them gather all the food of those good years that are coming and store up grain under the authority of the Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. Then that food shall be as a reserve for the land and for the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that land may not perish during the famine." Right? So, I mean, and I think that was it Joseph? Can't remember. But anyway, so a prophet came to the Pharaoh and was like, "Hey, we need to do this. Otherwise, we're going to starve to death," right? And it's interesting because they normally collect 1/10. 1/5 is 20%. So they like doubled the taxes
just in case.
to prepare, right? The enduring word says the message of God through Pharaoh's dreams. Okay, so it was just through Pharaoh's dreams, was a true crisis to come. If they did not prepare, the land would perish during the famine. This was an urgent call to action.
Yeah.
So a lot of us, if we know there's disaster coming up, we're going to prepare harder.
Yeah. And I think that's makes it easier if we know something is coming, than having things prepared, just like having a tourniquet with you almost all the time, or at least in your truck or whatever. Like, what's the chances that you're ever going to use that?
Right.
Probably never, but I have it, and then I struggle with, in a lot of ways, I like being a minimalist. So I don't want stuff.
Right.
I don't like clutter. I don't want all these extra things. But then when I do need it, I want to make sure I have it. So it's trying to find those really specific things like, okay, I can't go without this. This is really important. We got to make sure we have this, but I could probably get away without this, So it's trying to find that balance as well.
Absolutely. And it's funny. So I got a lot of things. My EDC, I can't have an EDC tray because it'll fill up. I probably carry about, excluding my firearm and ammo, I probably still have 3 pounds of stuff on me every day. You know what I mean? And it sounds
good for working out. You're walking with weight all the time.
I got a light. I got mace. I have by the way, I wear I have a trauma kit on my ankle right now. You know what I mean? So like even with sweatpants, I got my trauma kit, and it doesn't take up any room. It's on my ankle. You know, so. And I wear that every day.
Wow.
At work,
good for you.
Yeah, and it's not to brag, but I'm just
but it's interesting.
Yeah. So I get it. But look at how much people prepare, and this is crazy. So you'll look at people that want to be prepared with firearms, right? But they haven't prepared in the gym at all. Like extremely overweight, and not because of disease, but because of being a lazy bone, right? And it's
maybe that's it though. They're so out of shape they can't fight, so they're going to have to learn how to shoot.
But do they even learn?
They're not doing that either.
They have a gun on them, right? But it's like you're worried about losing your life, but you're killing yourself every day, like not doing anything. But anyway, we'll get off in the weeds on that. So then there's financial planning, right? Proverbs 21:20 says, there is desirable treasure and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man squanders it. The enduring word says there is a desirable treasure and oil in the dwelling of the wise. The wise man or woman lives a life blessed by God, and sometimes that blessing is shown in material things. They may have desirable treasure and good oil in their homes. Right? So you've heard people say, "Oh man, you're so lucky." Right? No, I'm not lucky. I'm smart.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
manage my money well. I go the other way. I just don't have any money, so I can't squander it if I don't have it at the beginning.
And I think that's better.
Some days. It doesn't feel that way when I want crap, but that preparation stuff for all my new gear, I'm like, oh man, I really need that long range rifle.
So you may not like part B, but the foolish man squanders it. The foolish man will have trouble gaining what the wise man or woman has. He doesn't have the character of a life or blessing of God that leads to prosperity. Yet even if he were to gain it, it would not last. His foolish nature dominates as he squanders it.
For sure.
Right? Yeah.
But you know what I think is interesting about that as well is its perception of what squandering would be.
Okay.
So I actually get into this with my brother a lot. My brother makes a ton of money, and he buys an unbelievable amount of stuff. And to my point, I'm like, dude, you have a crazy amount of stuff. And in his mind, it's not even remotely crazy. Like it's, hey, I need all this is normal. I need like this is what I need to live my life. You know, I'm like, really? Like, really? So in his perspective, he really doesn't feel that he squanders is a strong word for this situation, but you know, it's all everything I need. And from my point of view, you have more crap than I could even imagine. So from my point, he would be squandering, but he doesn't. So his perception of that as well is what makes that comment interesting.
Yes.
You know, because it's all relative to your life situation.
Man, that reminds me, and it is the perspective and stuff like that. So there was a time in my life, a very long time ago, where money was falling out of the sky. You know, it was just,
that sounds awesome.
It was just raining money, you know, and I was spending a lot of money, and I think I had like a $5,000 a month entertainment budget, like just going out to clubs and dinners and
wow,
yeah,
good for you.
I mean, it
was fun for a little while.
It wasn't really like okay, I could afford $5,000 a month, but when the money, so it quit raining, right? And the money started to get really tight. And I remember sitting there on Quicken and like, you know, looking at my budget, and I couldn't figure out how to spend less than like $2,000 a month and going out.
Like, there's no way.
There's no way. Like, how am I going to do it?
How am I going to live?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you.
You probably can.
Yeah. I've survived a long time since then without it. And now I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's
perception. And it can change easily.
Yes.
You know, we just did there's a podcast a little bit ago with Trevor and I and maybe my brother, but we talked about going down to Texas. You know, and there's very minimalistic things down there. I mean, there's a TV, but man, I don't ever watch TV there. Right. You know, we take a couple pairs of pants, a couple pairs of underbreeches, and you're there. And none of the day-to-day things that you normally use here that you really think you need, you don't have them there.
Right.
And you don't miss them. You don't even realize it. And then you think like, wow, I just was down there living in literally, I think the bunkhouse or the cabin is like 150 square feet. I mean, it's
Right.
it's the most tiniest. It's literally a tough shed remodeled. But at the end of it, like, did I miss anything? Did I miss anything in my day-to-day life that I didn't get there? Not really.
But you probably gained something, really.
And you probably gained something at the
Yeah.
end. So, but you just think you got to have, and I think that's just life, especially in America. You got to have the big house. You got to have the new vehicle. You got to have the white picket fence with the kids running around. Like that whole like stereotypical American lifestyle is what everyone just feels like this. Oh, this to be successful, to live my life like I should. This is all the things I need to have.
My brother, rest in peace, he used to call it the disease of the need for more.
Yeah.
I have to have more things.
Right.
It could be a disease. But when you get to your ranch in Texas, or I hunt a ranch out in Meeker for elk season, and when I get there, the silence, like I never understood the silence is deafening. Have you ever heard that term?
Yeah.
And I got there and I jumped out of the truck my first year, and it was so quiet. I could hear the quietness. And the cell phone doesn't work. Like I have to drive up to this ridge. We're down by the mailbox in this one 5-foot area. You know what I mean? And it was like, I didn't miss any of it. You know, and I gained a relationship with God and a connection. Yeah.
But we get on this. I always call it like the rat race.
Oh yeah.
You're trying to make this money to just keep up with this lifestyle that you think you need to live.
Right.
And it's easy to get in that habit or that mindset,
I've been humbled on the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very much so. Let's talk about defending and guarding what's yours. That's another thing that we prepare for a lot. I know a little bit about you, but I could tell you're prepared in this area, right? Luke 11:21 says, when a strong man, fully armed, guards his own house, his goods are in peace. And I feel that.
Right.
We got to protect our stuff. I don't even need a commentary on that one.
No.
But here's a transition, or we may even call it a problem, right? We prepare so well for what might happen in this life, but we ignore what will happen after it, right? Everyone will die. Everyone will stand before God. Everyone will give an account. Everyone will enter eternity, and there's no exceptions to that. Right? Matthew 24:44 says, therefore you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Right?
Yeah, you don't know when your time's coming, I guess. But I think I know I get that way as well. We're just living for that moment. Mm-hmm. I'm living for the next minute, tomorrow. Yeah. Do I even know what I'm doing next week? No. But just it's so short. My mental capacity of time is always so short.
Sure.
It's hard to think. I might plan a trip out to go hunting next spring. That's a long ways away, right? But to think about trying to plan that trip to heaven, when who knows? Now it could be tomorrow, it could be in an hour, right? And that's that weird line of, but you're like, well, it probably won't be. So let's just wait until we get there, kind of a thing. And it definitely is better to be being prepared now and setting yourself up. And if you work on it now, setting yourself up with good habits to make it easier later down the road, to make it easier for eternity. Like,
I agree.
And I don't know what your thoughts are on this. And I have not dug into scripture to really come up with my own opinion on this. I did hear a guy talk about, even if you go to heaven, if you make it there, if you're an actual believer and you make it there, there are, like, for lack of better words, there's levels of what part of, like, what job or what position you'll have in heaven. And he thinks that the more Christ-like, the better life you live here, the better off you're going to be in heaven. Now, you stay male, if you're a believer and that's it, you draw the line and you're, I'm a believer and I'm going to make it to heaven, but that's it. You're going to probably go to heaven, but you still won't be as high as level in heaven. Now, I don't know if, like I said, I haven't dug into the scriptures, but it's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I haven't dug into the different levels of heaven, right? But I'm on this different path, and I'm not saying I'm right and other people are wrong, but the once saved, always saved mentality, like, because you raise your hand in church one day and say, I believe, and then 6 months later you get baptized. I'm not a believer of once saved, always saved.
No. Oh, you're not? Okay.
No. In Orthodoxy, salvation and grace is very different. Grace is a continuing thing. It's not like, in Orthodoxy, it's not like, a very Protestant thing to say is, oh, when were you saved? Oh, August 7th on,
whatever time, right?
2023. You know what I mean? In Orthodoxy, we're constantly being saved, and we're positioning ourselves in participation of the Lord's grace. And it's not works-based. It's not to say, well, if I pray 5 times a day, I'm going to heaven. Or if I'm abstinent before marriage, I'm going to heaven. Those things are all to heal, are all supposed to be healing for you. Work still doesn't get you a place in heaven. But nowhere in the Bible does it say, by faith through grace alone. It's not alone. There's actually a scripture in the Bible that says, that's wrong. And I could pull it up. I could look at it for you here if you want. But I don't know about different jobs and different levels, but I do believe, if you receive grace and you said, hey, I'm going to lead on this Savior's salvation just because of God's grace, right? And that's it. You're missing the point, right? We should be so thankful and grateful
For sure.
that, wow, God died on the cross for our sins. I'm going to live my life in a godly way.
Yeah, and I think we should definitely want to. If you're really following and you're reading and you're keeping up with things, you should just want to be a better person / Christian, better follower, having a better walk, having a better relationship.
Sure.
You should just want to do that,
right.
But yeah, I have not heard that. I don't know. I've always heard under grace alone, you're saved. And as long as you continue with that faith and you feel it in your heart that you believe that God saved, or that Jesus saved you, that you would still go to heaven. But
I'm going to pull up a scripture for you.
Now I'm pulling you way off track.
Oh, it's okay. And just so you understand, I'm not saying you're going to live, nobody's going to live a perfect life.
Oh,
right?
For sure.
And I heard this said one time, and I repeat it all the time. There's a difference between stumbling and falling and repenting versus knowingly and willingly living in sin and being okay with it.
Doing the wrong thing knowingly all the time.
James 2:24, you see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. Now, James, he was, kind of a fire and brimstone. Yeah. He was Jesus' half-brother. And the book, I love the book of James. It's pretty amazing. But yeah, there's a verse that says, you'll see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. Yeah.
Interesting. I'll have to read that whole thing.
You'll have to do a deep dive in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
As if I need another rabbit hole. That's probably a pretty important one to be looking at.
Yeah. The Orthodox Study Bible says, the Lord's purpose in this discourse is not to make people experts on end-time prophecy. Rather, it is so they may watch and be ready, continuing in virtue and obeying Christ's commandments. Luke 12:20-21 says, but God said to him, fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So this is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. The Orthodox Study Bible says, whose will those things be which you provided is the key to understanding the saving up of material goods. St. John Chrysostom writes that the only barns we need we already have, and that's the stomachs of the poor. St. Basil the Great taught that the bread in our cupboard belongs to the hungry man. The coat hanging unused, what is it, a Filson? Maybe it's a Filson.
That's right. It's not normally unused, though.
It looks very used. We'll be able to tell if it's used or not.
We will.
Right? The coat hanging unused belongs to the one that needs it. The shoes rotting in your closet belong to the one who has no shoes, and the money we hoard belong to the poor. St. Ambrose teaches, the things that we cannot take with us are not ours. Only virtue will be our companion when we die. Even when Joseph stored up the grain in Egypt, it was for the benefit of the whole nation. Yeah, so that just seems, and I hate to say this, but reading that, I'm trying to wrap my head around that because it sounds very liberal to me. You know, it sounds very, not to make this political, but that sounds like the Democrats. Like
everyone should have the same amount of money. If you have that much extra, you should give it to everybody. Right.
And I don't believe that, but I believe what they're saying is there's nothing wrong with being wealthy, but being in love with your money and not doing the right things with it doesn't mean you can't have like 5 Filson jackets in your closet. But if you got an old hoodie that you're not using, maybe give it to somebody that needs it. It's unused.
I think it could be too of like where we hold that in our heart. Like, are we holding these possessions as materialistic things of like this is our life is based around a Filson jacket or money or whatever realistic, or is it just something that I have?
Right.
You know, I think you could have a ton of money.
You could do both.
And not be like my whole life has evolved around this. And it just so happens that I have a lot of it.
Yeah. And not be greedy with it.
Yeah.
You know?
So I think it's where you hold those possessions in your heart, like, oh, I have to have this to live, and this is my life.
Right.
Then that's probably on the wrong page.
Yep. Yeah, it says it doesn't say money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money.
The love of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay. Sense. It's okay to be wealthy.
Yeah, I've never tried it, but I've heard it's great.
That's awesome.
It says money. The money doesn't buy everything, but I'd sure like to give it a shot. Or money doesn't make you happy, but I'd sure like to give it a try.
There's a chance it won't make me sad either, right? Oh, I'm so sad I have so much money. Yeah. I mean, if you do good things with that money, I would love to give it a shot myself, right? Yeah. Is this my last verse here? Yeah, I think so. So Galatians 6:7. I love Galatians. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. Right? We've all heard of the term, you reap what you sow. And I've always looked at it as very materialistic. Like, I work hard today and I know next week I'll get a good paycheck. Right. You know, you reap what you sow. The ESV Study Bible says, in his context, Paul references to reaping. It's a reference of the blessings of eternal life rather than the temporal blessings that the believer will reap as a result of sowing his life to the Spirit. Yeah. So to wrap that all up, like we understand you reap what you sow in farming. We understand it in fitness. If I work out hard for a few months, I'll be in good shape. We understand it in money, but we need to remember it applies to the soul. You don't wake up spiritually strong, right? You don't accidentally become holy. You don't drift into righteousness. It's an intentional thing. So, yeah.
Well, I think, just to that point of your working out, it has to be a thought about goal, and you have to be disciplined enough to work at it.
Yes.
To get to the final goal. Yes. You can want to work at all you want. If you're not going to the gym, if you're not doing something, nothing's going to happen. Yep. And the discipline of all of that, I think, is what it wraps up for me, is being disciplined to do that. Being disciplined to wake up in the morning and get into the Word. Being disciplined to get those steps in every day. Yes. Be disciplined to not eat that 5th donut. Whatever the case is, it's always that discipline for me, and that's the hardest part. Yeah. But the discipline of that is what makes you also a better person, I think.
Absolutely. I think discipline is one of the most valuable character traits you could have.
And it's hard for everybody. And I think that's what really makes it set people apart. When people you're like, dang, dude, I know what kind of work you put in to get that. And kudos, like I feel more respect for people, even on a workout page or whatever. Dude, I know you lost a ton of weight. I know how much work that is. That sucks, and good for you. Because that's hard. Or being really, really good with a firearm. Like your draw stroke looks smooth and all this stuff. And you're like, dang, dude, you've been putting in some massive time with this.
Been doing some reps.
And good for you. Yeah. Especially when you have a guy that has a bunch of things, wow, your pistol shooting's really good. And wow, you're quoting some scripture. That means you're following up with that. And now you're in really good shape. And you're like, dude, you were getting some crap done.
Yeah. You're just good at everything, right? It's funny because there's a saying that I like, and it says, the hardest part of doing good is doing it every day.
Yeah. Right? Same thing. Where's that from?
I don't know.
You just make it up. Good for you.
No. I'm definitely going to make it up. To me, being disciplined for a short amount of time.
A lot easier.
Like I might be disciplined today and go to the gym after this. That would be cool. But if I don't go 4 or 5 more times this week, I'm not showing like discipline endurance. We talked about spiritual endurance on the show a few weeks.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, I've heard that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was when Josh was.
When Josh was here,
when Josh was on. Yeah. So doing it day after day after day, you know what I mean, is where it really starts to wear on you. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Where
it's hard.
Like,
it's really hard.
You know, if you were a partier and you're not partying, you're not drinking, you're not going out, you know, that might seem, for the younger people, right? It may seem like, oh my God, this is getting boring and it's lame, but actually you're doing something that other people aren't doing. Right. So you're going to be rewarded like they're not being rewarded. You know?
And it shows. And I think that's where, especially being older, you know, more mature where I am now in my life, you know, when I was younger, you would just look at materialistic things. You're like, oh, wow, that guy's cool. He's got a cool truck, or, you know, he's got a good looking girl, or whatever the case is. And now I find I respect way more people that I notice that are putting in the discipline. Like, wow, dude, you're like, I have way more respect for you because I know how hard it is and you're still doing it. You're still grinding. You're still getting after it.
I love it.
Like there's way more character in that than having a couple cool things.
100%. Amen, my friend. Good stuff. All right, let's talk about all out everything. I've used this term before, and we're using it again. But you are, like you said, the owner of all
founder,
of All Out Adventures down in Texas. But I want to let's talk about the Colorado ranch first. So you said it's an upland bird ranch?
Primarily upland and waterfowl. It is a private ranch.
Okay.
So there's a handful of owners and mostly pheasants, chucker, and some quail. A lot of dog training. I think there's 10 pointers in the barn right now. I've trained a few of them myself. We did buy some that were already pre-done. But working on new dogs. And I manage the entire ranch from maintenance to, you know, like the lawns and the mowing and, oh my gosh, the dog training, and pretty much anything that happens on that ranch, I'm doing it.
Wow. Okay.
Fixing fences and, you know, taking care of birds and planting birds. And then when the guys get here, you know, I'll take them out. I'll go catch birds, release some birds, because this is a planted bird deal. Yeah. So that's where we live. And that's my primary job. And then, you know, also having that ranch down in Texas. But so that's my day to day.
So the upland, when you say you have 10 dogs, so the ranch owns all those dogs?
Yeah, I own a few of them.
Who do you own? Rudy?
I own Rudy.
Nice.
Well, actually, Rudy doesn't belong to anybody. I guess if possession with it 9/10 law or whatever that is, then I own Rudy. Okay. But Rudy's funny. A friend of mine tried to convince me into a cocker.
Okay.
A cocker spaniel. And I'm like, man, I don't know. A little foo-foo dog, a little tiny fuzzy ears. And I'm like, nah, it's not my jam, you know? And he's like, no, these things are savage, you know? I'm like, oh, what the heck? He's like, well, let me just give you one. He's like, I have one. He's like, I was going to keep two, but I'm having a baby now and it's too much in the house. He's like, just take this one. And if you don't like him, and he's hunt him all season, do whatever. If you don't like it or like the experience that he provides of having a cocker in the flushing in a pointing world, then he said, we'll just sell him, you know, in the spring. Shoot, 3 days into this dog, I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm selling this dog. But he has been, I've never been connected to a dog like I've been to this dog. He's pretty dang amazing. But anyway, I've not yet paid for him. So he doesn't really belong to me money-wise, but I guess he's in my possession. So
he thinks you own him.
Yeah, he thinks so. Yeah, but he'll go with whoever's having a good time, that's for sure.
Now, I heard Trevor talk about this, your style of training the dogs. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So Chat GPT calls it, when I asked her to help me figure out her, not that it's a her.
Mine's a girl.
Mine's a her. Her name is Charlie. I don't know why. Just thought it was fun. But anyway.
Mine calls me bro.
Good for you.
Yeah.
What's up, bro?
It's like, that's a good question, bro.
So I had my chat thing tell me, how do I put all this together, basically. And they think it's very instinctive method. So that's kind of everything I've been leaning on. So I try to teach things in a natural way without teaching them. Okay. And I think Trevor did mention a little bit, you know, I want a dog to walk in a field like this called quartering. Okay. So as a puppy, when they want to follow you, I just walk like this. So as we go for a walk every single day, we just walk like this. And next thing you know, the dog starts walking like this. So I'm teaching quartering just by taking him for a walk. And then for Rudy specifically, because Rudy, so how I hunt Rudy is the pointers will go on point, and generally the bird's in some really thick cover, and I'll send Rudy in, and he'll run in that crap and get him out of there, which saves me from walking in there and getting my butt shot by somebody or whatever. And then he's a heck of a retrieving dog too. But so when I take him out and we're having a good time, I'll walk him in really thick stuff. So I don't ever walk him on a road. So I don't walk him down trails or nothing like that. All the fun happens with me in the thick crap. Sure. So when we go out to the field, like he'll hunt for thick crap and generally finds birds, which reaffirms his thinking that, ooh, all the fun happens in the thick stuff. Gotcha. So he'll just like run from cover to cover looking in the thickest crap just for me taking him for a walk. And then as a puppy, and I like a lot of this happens as a puppy just because it's easy to manipulate their instincts that way. But, he'll get like a puppy, he'll start wandering off and I'll just turn and walk the other way and I'll yell, hey, hey. And then I'll be walking away from him and further than he wants to be. And he didn't realize it. And I'll yell, hey, hey. And he'll see me and be like, oh crap. And he'll come running my direction. So now every time I go, hey, hey, that means I'm changing directions or I want him to change directions. And then it even correlates to, hey, hey, or beep, beep, or whistle, whistle. So now I can do anything in twos and he'll turn. Wow. So now I can be out in the field and he could be hunting over there and I just say I want him to be over here. I go beep, beep, or hey, hey, and he'll turn and come right this way. So it's all these little things without really, there's no pressure, there's nothing. It's just manipulating instinct to make it all work. So
that's so cool.
It's awesome.
Now you're waterfowl, so do you guys obviously have to have water on the ranch or just?
Yeah, the ranch owns 2.5 miles of the river.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's pretty fun. Now that was the biggest for them. That was one of the biggest draws in buying the ranch because they thought ducks and on the river, which actually is not as cool now, just because I think the migration has shifted. But there's also pivots, like farm pivots on the property as well. So a lot of geese go to those pivots, things like that. So we'll do waterfowl when they're there. When the birds are in the area, we'll do that. But they have to set their schedules out so far. They're already putting stuff in for next year. Okay. So it's hard to get. We don't know what the birds are going to do unless I put them there. So that's where the whole planted bird thing works for our situation for these guys, so that they, no matter what, they know when they get there, there's going to be birds. Whether if it was ducks, they could plan to be there on the 18th of January or whatever, and they get there and I'm like, yeah, sorry, man, there's none around. Gotcha. Now what?
Gotcha. So do you raise the pheasants and stuff? Or you buy them?
So I buy them as juveniles. I've done the whole raising from chicks, and oh man, it's a crazy amount of work. So now I used to buy them from multiple suppliers, but now just one, and he comes out of Kansas. Okay. And I buy them at the beginning of season-ish, so September-ish, and I buy them as juveniles, and then they can fly, but they're not quite ready. And then, we basically somewhat raise them, and it does not take long. They actually mature very fast. Gotcha. And then we have a really big pen that they learn to fly in as well. So they fly well when we let them out. And obviously later in the season, because I can only keep about 1,000 in my pen at a time. And we plan about 6,000 a season. Oh, okay. So I get 1,000, a couple weeks get 1,000, couple weeks get 1,000, couple weeks get 1,000. Well, towards the end of season, now he's raising adults as well at this point, because they're all pretty well full grown. And so now I'm getting adults, and at that point, just feeding them and then releasing them.
Man, out of the 6,000 birds, Jason.
Yeah, I know what you're going to ask. It's horrible. So you're going to ask either how many do we get or how many survive, right?
Yeah, like, because, how many birds you kill every year. How many birds out of the 6,000? It's about
50%.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
And it's funny. We actually get in with like real bird hunter guys, actually get into this little bit of a, conflict, because they're like, oh my gosh, you shouldn't be, your dogs should be better to be finding more birds than that, but the situation is very unique. We put out a lot of birds. These guys, these are older guys, and they're just, they have very high expectations, which is completely fine. do you, it's your ranch, right? So we put out 100 at a time. Well, when you put out 100 birds in a 50-acre area, dude, they're sent everywhere. So the dogs are just trying to figure it out all the time. They're smelling birds all the time, where a wild bird hunter is walking across a prairie and he may find, one or two or whatever here and there. My dogs are finding one if we go 2 minutes without seeing something, like something's wrong.
Okay.
So, and then they get on one bird. Well, there might be 5 there. So 5 might run off and they stick one, and 5 of them kind of drift off over here, and we don't end up seeing those again.
Right.
So there's a lot of like little things that happen. But anyway, it's about 50% that I think that we shoot, or at least see. There's a lot of, we got to count misses in there, and birds that just get up far and things like that. But the next part of that, which everyone asks, is how many survive? And man, not hardly any. I think pheasants probably do the best. But what I really run into, what I see is they don't know how to find their own food. They're looking for a bucket.
Gotcha.
And, when they get out there, they pick around, they kind of figure stuff, but they can't really feed themselves. And what I also think part of it as well is when we get them, the protein ratio is like 26% that we need to feed them. Well, out in the wild, when there's no bugs in the winter or anything like that, for them to come up with 16% or 26%, really hard. So a lot of them, I think, starve to death, unfortunately. Now, years like this, where our winter's been so mild, I'm actually seeing quite a few more birds staying around, which is also proving this point. And we have farm fields there. They're eating corn off the farm pivots and stuff like that. I mean, there's not a lot, but there's some. But even that, I don't know exactly, and someone probably have to correct me on this, but it's only like 10% is even corn. So even if they ate all the corn they wanted, it's still not half of what they're used to eating.
Right.
So they just starve to death.
Ah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I wish it worked out better after 7 years of putting out, 4,000 to 6,000 birds a year. You'd think the whole county would be covered, and there definitely is more, right?
Yeah. I mean,
but
I don't think they go to waste though. I mean, they're feeding
the
coyotes.
Circle of life has to continue between hawks and coyotes, and some we are between two state wildlife areas, so there are just everyday hunters that end up finding our birds, and the Division of Wildlife is very happy with me. They're like, "Oh man, all these people are shooting all these birds." I'm like, "Yeah, $15 a piece or for free."
How many members does the club have?
It's 6. There's 6 owners to that, but yeah.
Are you familiar with Rain and Skies?
I am. In fact, the guy that managed it, Robert, is a really good friend of mine, and I literally texted him on the way here.
Oh, no way. So I'm friends with Johnny Gechter.
Okay.
Junior.
Yeah. And I checked his son, Grant.
Junior, senior, and Grant.
Yeah. So Grant, I actually texted him this morning. I just got his number this morning.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Johnny Jr., Johnny Gechter Jr., he was the guy that taught me how to hunt.
Okay.
Like, I put something on Facebook 6 seasons ago, and I was like, hey, I'm trying to learn how to hunt. If somebody's got the heart of the teacher, that wants to take me out, that'd be great. And Jill, his wife, volunteered him, and I used to go hunt.
Voluntold him?
Yeah. So I would go with John Gechter Sr. and Jr., and then Garrett.
Right.
Yeah. So, good stuff.
Yeah. Small world.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's got a big operation.
And it's growing. That Raining Skies operation is massive. They got some really, really good stuff. I did not become a member the last couple of years, but I was 3 years ago. Probably will next year.
Okay.
Just, you get in those phases of your life of like your activity level not level, but what you're interested in, like this last couple of years, I've been really raising my own and training my own pointers, and now this Rudy dog. And so it's a lot of upland stuff. And so I've been grinding it out, trying to like really like give full effort into something. Cause that's my personality is I want to be all in something. Like I want to give it full, all out. I want to be all into whatever it is I'm doing and just submerge myself in it. If I try to go shoot an elk, and then I go try to get in my antelope with archery tag, and then I try to go to Texas, and then I try to shoot, I'm strung out too far.
You get watered down.
And it's too much. And I don't feel like I can give everything my full attention that I want to get it to be really good or serious with it,
Yeah, my brother used to say, "You pull this lever, this one gets pushed."
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
you can only
do so much.
For myself, I generally I want to pick one thing and I want to grind it. It was waterfowl 3 years ago, and I mean we were going 5 days a week. I mean, grinding 5 days a week, and that wore me out. Then I went to upland deal, and I'd shot. This was kind of fun with my pointers. I went and shot 16 different species of upland birds in 7 different states in one season.
Oh, wow.
It was awesome. Now, granted, I'm not shooting limits of all this. Sometimes it was just one bird, but it was that one to check off my list.
Sure.
And the upland slam is a lot bigger, and guys are shooting a lot more. But there's some birds in Alaska and all kinds of crazy stuff I wasn't going to travel to. But anyway, but yeah, so I really try to like pick that one thing and just really get into it. And I did that fly fishing thing for a little while, or I was even a guide for a place locally and guided fly fishing for 3 years. And that was my whole time, my own flies, all like just, I want to be submersed in anything that I'm doing. And so that's why I generally try to pick one thing to do.
That's cool. Yeah. Those, the Gechters, they are nuts over there.
Yeah.
Over the geese hunting and all on the waterfowl.
All the waterfowl stuff.
Yeah. He gave me a bunch of snack sticks and, I've been invited to go, and I don't know why there's not a huge interest for me. And I always hear that it's really cool. I did go to the Long Meadow to do the upland birds one time, and that was fun. I've never shot a bird before. Right. I'd never been skeet or sporting clays or any of that stuff, and I kind of found it was kind of easy. I shot 6 birds. I mean, out of 10 opportunities I think I had, I was like, okay,
I can do this.
Yeah, it's cool. And then I'm sure you clean the birds for the guys.
Yeah. So we actually hired this year. I basically paid my 2 buddies I waterfowl hunt with. They were looking for extra money to do whatever, and they didn't really care, and they really liked it. Like the whole ranch experience out there, everyone just like, oh my gosh, all this stuff that you do out here is really cool, which seems like a day-to-day work for me. But they're like, oh man, this is cool. And you got all the birds, and we go catch the birds and let them go, and like all these things, it's pretty awesome.
It's like camp.
Yeah, they think it's pretty cool. I mean, it is very neat. It's sometimes hard to see it when it's your day-to-day job. But,
sure.
But yeah, I hire guys to come in. They'll come in clean. Sometimes there's up to 100 birds a day, that they're stripping and cleaning and cutting them up. And then they all go in a package, and then they have a label with our license number because we are releasing birds. So we're shooting more than the average limit per day. So therefore we have to do it under a conservation license or something like that.
Gotcha.
So anyway, that goes on a sticker on the package and all this other kind of crap, but it's an interesting program.
Awesome. Tell us more about the Texas Ranch.
Texas Ranch is my baby. So 26 years ago, I really wanted to have my own TV show.
Okay.
So I was wanting to figure that out. I shot a bunch of video with like cheap handy cams, Sony cams type crap, just to like get my feet wet. And I produced I had some really, really cool footage.
Okay.
And I was being very productive at getting things done and creating some cool stuff. So I turned it into a production company, and they're like, yeah, I think you could be something, and I think we could do this. Okay. So they said, well, what we need to do is, first of all, we need to have 30 hours of footage to create a season. Well, 30 hours of killing stuff, that's a lot of killing stuff. Now, there can be some B-roll, but man, that's a lot of shooting. Right. I mean, you better be producing something.
Sure.
Especially per episode. And then he said, well, it'll be 12 episodes and da-da-da-da and all this whatever. So I'm like, well, at least 12 things need to get shot.
Right.
Well, that's a lot of tags. And in Colorado, I mean, that's 1 elk, 1 antelope, maybe a bear, whatever, maybe a deer, whatever. So it's a lot. So I was like, well, where can I get more opportunities to try to make this happen? I'm like, well, pigs in Texas. And I've done that my whole life for my birthday. My dad used to take me and my brother Scott down or whatever for hog hunting ranches in Texas. And we go to 2 or 3 different places every year. And it's just a ton of fun, and there's a lot of opportunity. Sure. So I thought, man, if I can find a place in Texas and then go down there, weekly or monthly or a couple times a month or whatever, have a lot of opportunities, create a lot of footage. So we did that, and man, we were having a great time. And it was a grind. I mean, it was tough work, but we ended up being really successful. Got a bunch of footage, and then took it back to the company, and they're like, "Yeah, let's do it. Here's the invoice. If we get started, we need half down," and it was $75,000
for half, or
now, but the whole bill was, and There's no way. Yeah. And I'm like, there's no way I have this money. And they're like, well, you can ask sponsors. Well, all my sponsors at the time would all give me all the gear I wanted, but they wouldn't give me cash until they saw my first season. So anyway, shorten that story up. I was like, I couldn't do it. But we had so much dang time. It was so much fun going to Texas and shooting pigs and learning all this new thing and like really getting after it. I leased a property and had my own place and all this, whatever. We were having a great time. I started taking buddies down to help pay for it, pay for corn for the feeders and all this, whatever. And everyone's like, man, you should do this like bigger operation. This is a lot of fun. Wow. So then it prompted me to do more of an outfitting style. So then I bought my own ranch. And then, that's pretty much history at that. And then we just been plugging away on this new ranch, and now we've been at this for 10 years now, I guess.
Okay.
At the new ranch, and I've been doing that whole hog thing down in Texas for over 20. But
gotcha. So you bought the ranch about 10 years ago, and then how many people visit this ranch a year? Would you think?
So my season starts in October, middle of October, and we go through the end of April, and it's every single weekend.
Wow.
Pretty much. No one comes on Christmas, but pretty much every single weekend from October to April.
Gotcha. And do they stay on the ranch? Or
There's a bunkhouse, nothing fancy. And Trevor always gets mad at me. He's like, "Oh, so this you always downplay it," but it is literally a bunkhouse. It's 2 rooms with bunk beds and shares a bathroom kitchen in the middle, and that's it. But really, by the time, because we're hunting at night, we're not getting to bed till 3 a.m. anyway. So at that point, people could sleep on nothing and be fine. Sure. So it's not a big deal.
And the success rate is pretty good.
Yeah, and it is kind of like a planted thing. It is a high fenced area. The problem is, and I always tell people, whether they come to my ranch or not, you got to take into consideration pigs are extremely smart. And if you keep shooting at a pig on a ranch, whether that ranch is 10,000 acres or 30,000 acres, if you're doing it for years at a time, you're going to push pigs out of the ranch. And especially if you're doing them every single weekend, which to run a business, unfortunately, that's what we have to do.
Right.
And that doesn't sound good to the consumer. The consumer's like, oh man, this place is getting beat up all the time. Well, it would be if it wasn't a high fence situation. So a lot of people look down upon the whole high fence, like, oh man, you're canned hunt, you're shooting them out of fence. First of all, I can tell you it can be quite hard at times. And there are times where those pigs are even smarter because they've seen a lot more crap than other pigs. And there's only way to make people successful to where they're not just working so hard at it that it's not fun. Sure. Not that there's not some guys with that personality that want to grind and really work. And then this isn't the place for you.
Right.
But if you want to come down, still have to work at it, but probably you're going to kill at least 2, then this is a really good opportunity and the price fits that.
Nice.
And it's pretty successful. And you always have a chance for a big trophy pig. I always make sure there's some of them in the high fence.
Nice.
But there's a lot of other stuff to shoot, and some guys, don't care. Some guys want to shoot trophies, whatever. But every once in a while, people will go. I hardly ever have someone without a shot opportunity.
Gotcha.
Hardly ever. That's pretty minimal, but I would say we're probably a 95% success rate of at least shooting a hog. Yeah.
Okay. And all walks of life come, all nationalities.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Yeah. I've got all different kinds of people, and women and a lot of young people. And that is actually a really good thing for young people. I have like box blinds with office chairs, so it's pretty comfortable, and so they're up off the ground, and they've, a sense of safeness and things like that. It's very nice. And you generally are seeing stuff all the time.
Nice.
So it makes it fun. So yeah, we have all different kinds of people, and just like anything now which actually thinking about different kinds of people kind of makes me shift that a little bit into we're really wanting to start pushing some type of a men's group retreat type situation. And, I want to have groups of guys, and we might even like head towards some churches and try to put something together as an actual men's group, but to come down, and I want to do like the first day, a few different ideas, and I don't know which way we're going to go with this. Now, I've done this a few different times with some smaller groups, but I want to do like a field to feast thing. I want to take everybody out the first night and shoot whatever we can, bring everything back the next day. It's literally starting from hair on that sucker, and we're going to break it all down, cut up what we need to cut up, show people how to package it, show people what to cut off of this and how this works. And then the last part of that, take it all over to the fireplace and start cooking it.
That's so cool.
And like, you can make it like this and let everyone try it. And literally having guys, part of your preparedness, be prepared if anything bad or in any situation, you can go and harvest an animal and take it all the way to feeding your family.
I love that. That's so cool.
That's kind of our next adventure with that.
I need to hook you up with my guest last week, Sean Nealon. He has a men's group called Restoring Warriors. You guys should know each other.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I think that might be.
So yeah, that's kind of the next little project to do. Trevor's been kind of actually pushing that a little bit more lately.
Okay. Now, can people only hunt hogs?
Yeah, right now, it's just the easiest. I've had some exotic sheep and some stuff like that, but it's tough. It's just easier with hogs for right now. But I'm actually in the process, we've talked about it in a few episodes, but of extending the high fence, because actually right now it's actually a short fence. Most of it's only like 5-6 feet tall. And so a lot of things can jump out of that other than hogs, which there are, either way, long story on that. But I'm actually, this whole section I just put up is actual 8-foot tall high fence. Okay. So we're going to work on eventually putting the whole ranch in that, which is just a ton of money. But once we get to that point, then the door's open. Gotcha. Then we can do whatever. Gotcha. So just try to figure out what the market is and what people are wanting to do, and try to figure it out. I'm
sure there's like resident whitetail though, right?
Yeah, there's actually in this county has actually got some really nice whitetail for Texas. Their bodies are small there, but there's some really good bone growth for horns and stuff, or for horns and antlers and all that stuff like that. But yeah, there's quite a few deer around. There are talk of exotics running around that escaped high fences and stuff like that. And not so much in my area. That's a little bit further south, because there's a lot more like high fence exotic ranches further south. But in my area, just primary pigs and deer. So.
Gotcha. As far as gutting a pig, is it pretty similar to an elk?
All pretty much exactly the same. Quartering it all out, and we actually teach out there. We actually don't gut hardly anything. So gutless. I do a gutless method on everything. Even able to pull, the back straps out and the tenderloins out from underneath the back, and I think you guys might have talked about that in the last episode. But yeah, we do all that. It's just easier. I'm not unless the client was really hell bent on having liver and heart, which I don't mind it on some things, but on a pig, it's not the same. So other than that, I don't want to get my hands in there if I'm not going to get that out of it, which I can actually still get that out without even gutless method as well. Yeah, just you take the Sawzall, knock a couple ribs, and you still pull the heart out pretty dang easy without even getting into the guts. So
yeah, I've never done gutless. I've only gutted, and then I've helped some friends process, but I've never processed my own completely. Okay, I have made summer sausage and stuff, but I bought all my knives for this year to do it, and then. I killed my deer on the first day of a 9-day trip, and I'm like,
Now what?
Yeah. So, but anyway,
it's a great skill, and I think Josh talked about it. But in when all the kids were young, I wanted to make sure they all knew where their food came from. Sure. And whether or not you choose to do this as an adult, right. I mean, I want you to, but whatever. I want you to at least understand it. So all the kids helped process all of the animals. In fact, when they were all younger and all living in the house, we had all middle-aged type teenager type kids in the house. There's 3 of them, my wife and I, and then my wife's mother was all living in the house. And it was a lot of mouths to feed. Sure. So money-wise, it wasn't, we were trying to save as much money. And I was already trying to, I already had the place in Texas, already shooting a bunch of pigs. So it just got to be where we were just killing pigs to feed the family. Like it was legitimately like old school times of feeding your family, which is also awesome. Even to the point where my wife would open up the freezer and she'd look at me, she goes, "Are you leaving anytime soon?" Like, wow. Oh crap. Okay. Yeah. Like we're getting thin. Like you better go make this happen.
Yeah. Josh did say
which adds some pressure to the hunting experience. I can tell you that when you're like literally trying to shoot stuff to feed your family legitimately, which by the way, is about 27 animals a year to feed that family.
Wow. Wow.
Between deer, pig, mostly pigs, because it's easier, and the licenses are, for tags purposes and all that stuff. But 27 animals a year to feed a family, and that's mostly just dinner. Right. But you're
how many pounds of meat off your average?
Yeah, and it's so hard with hogs because you might be shooting 30 pounders or 300 pounders. Right,
let's say 150 pound pig.
I would say, you're 40 to 50 pounds.
Okay. It's like,
and that's if you're getting really after it. Yeah.
It's big game.
Yeah. It's not much different than a deer or whatever. You probably can get a little bit more of a deer if you start doing ribs and, that meat off the brisket, stuff like that. But
I got to tell you, me being a fairly new hunter, there is really a great feeling about being able to provide like that.
I think that's in our nature.
To be able to, feed somebody and just know that you went out and, did the damn thing to bring that meat home is a good feeling.
That's a way bigger. I think you could probably spend a whole podcast. Yes. I could, and it is that internal drive, that nature. That's just our nature, and it's in dogs. We talked about it with dogs before. Of just some dogs are just. They have that drive to just go to work, whether it's a sheep dog or a cattle dog or a hunting dog or a bite dog like Trevor's got or whatever, that natural desire to do what you're supposed to do in your life.
That's funny.
And there's a lot of men, I think, that have that, and it's suppressed, repressed, whatever. It's kind of held back a lot because they don't get to experience that until they do like what you did. Like you reached out, you just hey, I need someone to show me, and the next thing you know, you see it, and then it clicks, and you're like, "Oh man!"
Now I
feel it.
I breathe it.
I feel it.
That's all
I
want to do.
And now it's in your it comes out of your soul. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I grew up in Queens, New York, and not to say that people from Queens don't go hunting, but this kid from Queens didn't. And then coming out here, I was I remember making posts on Facebook like, "You cowards," shooting an elk,
innocent animals, and
and I use the term I hunt like, oh, it's easy to kill a elk at 100 yards with a rifle, like do it barehanded with the knife. And then I was telling you upstairs, I was talking about tower climbing, and when I was a tower climber, I worked with these self-proclaimed rednecks from Idaho, and they were, if it moved, they wanted to shoot it. Right. We would be on a tower, hundreds of feet in the air.
They were scouting.
Arguing about wolves, because in Idaho, it's basically open wolf season. It's like, the wolves are like coyotes out there. Like, it's such a problem because they reintroduced Canadian. Yeah. They took these Canadian wolves and put them in there, and they're too big and too, and it's like decimated the elk population. So we would be up there arguing about this stuff. And then COVID hit, and the next thing I know, I'm like interested in hunting and learning about this stuff. And, it's funny because the guy that I used to argue with, he's a very accomplished big game hunter. And he, we were going back and forth this season, and, I got my first bull, and he's like, and he comes out here to hunt. We got to do it together. And it's been interesting. So,
yeah. I think there's a lot of instinct like that that's actually built in humans, just like dogs or whatever that, that it just takes one thing to bring it out, and next thing you know, it feels like it's something you need to do.
Yes. The other thing is I've never been a blood and guts guy. I am an EMT.
And I just you get all that certification
stuff. Just for fun, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to do that for my own knowledge. But like blood and guts, it's not like it's not really my thing. But not like, Johnny Geck will probably tell you I'm a gagger, you know what I mean? Just sometimes the smell will get to me. Okay. But like these past seasons, my last 3 animals, it's just very like, there's an animal down, we got to get the guts out. What it is. It's like it's a mission,
right?
And something I'm very proud of being able to do. Like, pulling the trigger and killing it, that's easy, dealing with it and taking care of that meat and taking care of that animal and treating it like a blessing from God. Like that's a whole nother thing.
It's a whole nother level for sure. Yeah. I think a lot of that's just exposure,
Yeah.
I noticed when I've throughout the years, I've had multiple people clean birds at the Colorado ranch, and they start out with gloves, like rubber gloves on or whatever. And they're, oh man, this is really bad. And within a week, no more gloves. Yeah. And then they're eating a sandwich, while they're doing it. Like, it's just like no longer a thing. And even all my kids are all that way. Like I don't even know what I could show them now to gross them out.
Right. And I know just being near the dead pheasants, to me, they don't smell the greatest. I'd rather smell an elk than a dead pheasant. I don't know. I don't know what it was. And maybe it was just the birds that I was around, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
All right, man. I want to talk about one more thing before we leave. And I don't get political on the show, and I don't want this to become political, but it's more of a self-defense thing. So this past week, a lady in Minneapolis was killed by ICE. It was a white lady, a mom, and there's been this big uproar on social media about ICE murdered her and all this stuff. And, I have my own opinions about the actual situation, and we could do the play-by-play and dissect the videos and, give our perspective, right? But what I really want to talk about is avoidance. And one thing that I teach from a self-defense perspective to my students is the best gunfight you'll ever be in is the one you don't have, right? Avoidance to me, if you are a self-defender, is it's the second thing. To me, it's situational awareness, paying attention to your surroundings, and avoiding things that could get you killed, right? Avoiding places of nuisance. I used to get into a lot of fights. You know what I mean? I was even a bouncer at one time, and like fighting was fun. You know what I mean? The last thing I want to do now is be in a fight, especially a gunfight. You know what I mean? Right. And putting yourself in a situation, and what I try to teach my students is even protecting others. So like if you're a dad or a mom and your mission is to make it home to your wife or your husband and your children every day, and you're walking by a situation and you get involved because you wanted to even protect somebody else, right? In your heart, it was for a good reason, but you died doing so.
You're putting yourself at risk.
You failed your mission, right? Yeah. Now your wife and your kid or your husband and your kid have nobody to help take care of them, right? It's heavy. And I try to tell people about that. And it's not about being a hero and, running into a 7-Eleven that somebody's shoplifting at and trying to save the day. Or, you may see two guys getting into a fight and one guy looks like he's about to get killed, but really he wasn't the initial aggressor. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you're protecting the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like there's just
you don't know what's going on.
You don't know what's going on
all the time, right?
Yeah. So to me, you want to really begin with the ending in mind. If I do this, what's potentially going to happen? Right. I mean, there's a lot of things I believe in. I don't go to rallies and protests to talk about them. Right. I do that at the polls. Yeah. Begin with the ending in mind. Really think about the risk versus the reward. You know what I mean? Or we were talking about it earlier, like the chances of me needing this are slim, right? But what's at stake? You know what I mean? Yeah, the chances of you dying today at a protest downtown may be slim, but what's at stake if you do get hurt or killed? Your family, So I just wanted to talk about avoidance and not, depending on what you have at home, and what your mission is it really worth it? And then just going back to this lady, whether she was wrong or she was right or the ICE agent was wrong or right, she put herself in a place where she didn't need to be as a mom. You know what I mean? In my opinion. Yeah. If she just didn't go and do that, she would still be alive today.
I have a few different thoughts on that. I think, specifically, not that I'm against protests at all. If it's done right and it's not violent in any way, shape, or form, do you? I always think about it about being productive. Are you really changing the guy that's yelling the opposite? You always see those protests and these guys are yelling this and these guys are yelling this. Do you really think you're going to say something to just make that guy go, oh crap, you're 100% right. You win. I'm going to leave and go home and I'm going to now think that. What's the chances of that?
Pretty much zero.
Yeah. Even on social media,
especially
the whole rage bait, like, oh, I think this, and this. And then people are like, oh man. And then they start snapping back and like, do you really think you're going to be able to say anything? And even if it's true and logical to without a doubt, do you think you're going to make that other person change their mind? Nope. Probably not, unless it's something more personal.
Sure.
You know, if you and I had a disagreement about something, we could probably talk it out to the point by the end of it, one of us could be like, okay, yeah, I could totally see that.
Or we could have a disagreement, or not even a disagreement. We could have different views and have a discussion about it. And listen, at the end of the day, like, I'm okay if you don't believe what I believe.
If you're not hurting me and I'm not hurting you, and you're not, then it is what it is. Do you?
Right. Like we were talking about, can you be saved by grace alone?
Right.
You know what I mean? You believe one thing and I believe another thing. It doesn't bother me that you believe that, and I'm not going to try to hit you over the head until you believe what I believe,
But I'm also the type of person in that exact situation. Now I want to go look it up myself. Now, just because I've heard this and this is what I've thought does not make me right.
And that's where I'm at. I always say, like, I'm not necessarily right. I'm a man. My buddy Timmy calls me a guy with a mic. You're just a guy with a mic. I'm like, That's very true.
Right. I
don't have somebody here disagreeing with me, although Trevor likes to sometimes.
I think he just does it on purpose. Yeah. Because he likes pushing buttons. But, I like conversations like that to open doors. And I think you have to be in the right mental mindset of your life to be like, I'm going to listen to other sides of the story to open up a new thought that I had not thought about before. Now, you still may go down that rabbit hole and be like, well, no, I still don't think that's the right way. I'm still going to do this.
Sure.
But, to have that maturity level and common sense to be like, okay, well, maybe there is a different way. Maybe there's a better way. And, try to find it. But that's why the whole like protesting thing, like I'm not on that page because I just can't imagine it's very productive.
I got things to do.
And like I said, if you want to, if you're not hurting anyone, go right ahead. Right. Stand out there and do whatever you want. I just wonder how many, at the end of the day, when these 100 protesters are out there and they're waving signs around at the end of the day and they take a poll and they go, okay, how many people's lives did you change today?
Not a single.
Then what the heck are we doing? Right. So that's just my thought on that. And the back to the situational thing, I have never been in a fight in my entire life. I have never hit anybody. Not that I'm against it, or I wouldn't in the right situation. I've never put myself in that situation. Wow. But I'm not a drinker, so I've never been to bars, saying that bars are the only place there's fights. I'm not saying that. That's a situation that it probably has higher percentages
happens there a lot.
Of a fight. Yeah. So things like that, I just never put myself in those situations. First of all, I don't really know how to fight. So therefore, I'm definitely not going to put myself in that situation if I don't have to.
Knowing that's a good thing.
So I've just respected where my limits are. And I've never been the type of guy where I'm Billy Badass, for lack of a better term, thinking I can go beat up anybody and knowing that I don't know anything. There's plenty of guys like that, especially once they've been drinking or under some influence. They're like, oh man, I'm 10 feet tall and bulletproof, but they have nothing to back that up at all. But yeah, I'd rather do my own thing, and I've avoided, and therefore I don't put myself in those situations.
That's that avoidance. That's what I'm talking about. Another piece of advice I would like to give people, whether you think this is wrong or right, you're never going to win against the police in that moment. You might in court, right? You're never, if law enforcement is telling you to do something and you don't comply, you're not going to win, right? They got radios and they got more people.
And they have authority.
And they have authority, right? If you don't like what's going on, I would suggest, right, complying and then sue them.
Fighting it a different way.
Fighting in a different way, because you're not going to win on the streets in that situation. It's not going to go good for you. It's probably going to end up with you being hurt and going to jail. Or, worst case scenario, getting shot.
Right. And when did that become a thing, this whole non-compliance? When I was little, like, I think my dad would have totally been on the page of my teachers in school whooping my butt.
Sure.
Totally. Like, they're your authority. If they think you're doing something wrong, you should be punished at that moment. Like, and not so much that, but like back to authority, like this whole like not complying to the police officers. When did this become a thing? Like, I was always taught you always comply at that moment, In that situation, that's not the time to fight that battle. Right. But you always comply to a police officer. And they may not be right. I'm not saying that all police officers are doing the right thing every single time. Right. I'm not saying that either. I'm sure there's plenty of abuse. Mm-hmm. But at that exact moment, he's ready for a fight. You're probably not to that level that he is. Just comply for the moment. If you really feel like you're mishandled or mistreated or whatever, find a different way to figure it out.
Yeah, I don't like to brag about this, but I've been pulled over a lot of times by the police.
Speeding or what?
Speeding, yeah. With a firearm on me, right? And I always just comply, and I'm respectful. I'm not the darkest person, but I'm not the lightest either, right? But I've never been ripped out of the car. I've never been beat up. I've never been shot because I'm respectful. I do what they ask. They either just let me go or they give me a ticket.
Yeah.
And then I go on my way. But also I know I wouldn't have been pulled over if I wasn't speeding.
Right.
I've
even made the comments, which I think has got me out of some tickets, is, when they pull me over or whatever, you were speeding. I'm like, yeah, I was totally. In fact, oftentimes, as soon as I see the cop and I look at the thing, I'm like, oh, crap. And I just pull over.
Yeah.
Just automatically pull over, roll down the windows, put my hands on the steering wheel, and like, okay, this is happening. And I'll even make the joke like, hey, man, like, did you know what you did? I'm like, yep. I said, I probably have a ticket coming. I said, that was pretty bad, and I was not paying attention.
That's
like,
true.
If I have it coming, I got it coming.
Yeah.
And I said, and even if not this time, I'm sure I got away a few other times and I didn't get a ticket. Yep. So I said, basically do what you got to do. And half the time they're like, well, here's a warning. I'm like, oh man, like, I was absolutely speeding. I was in the wrong.
Give me a ticket.
So not that I'm pushing it, but I'm like, hey, dude, I totally get it. And they're like, no, you're fine. And just, just slow it down thing, But I'm also a firm believer you got what's coming. Yeah. At some point or another, you probably were speeding. You didn't get a ticket, so accept the ticket now. So just comply. Just it is what it is. You were in the wrong, and accept the consequences.
Yeah, I'm trying to put myself in a position where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go down today. I'm going to be against law enforcement. They got pepper spray. They got, they got
everything.
They got all the things.
They're ready to deal with people that are ready to not comply.
Yeah, I just have no desire to do that.
Yeah,
but some people.
What are you? And that's back to what are you going to change?
Right. Maybe I'm not passionate like some of these people are. Maybe I'm just not passionate about my beliefs. I mean, I think I am, and I just stick to myself and
different level,
or just express it in a different way. So.
Yeah, and to each their own on that deal. Yeah. And I think if you think you're being productive and this is something that you're passionate about, then stick to your guns. And as long as you're not hurting anybody or getting yourself hurt, then more power to you.
Absolutely.
Go get it.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Do you have any final thoughts before I give mine?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. You've been an awesome guest, Jason. I appreciate you coming on. It was good to learn about you.
This is a fun way to start our relationship, Most people, they'll just jump into a video podcast and be like, "Hey, I don't even know who you are. Let's have a conversation."
Well, that's how I met your son.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. I literally knew your son and I wasn't social media.
Forged by fire.
Yeah, I was like, hey, he could be on the show. Great. I was like, and my question is like, do you love the Lord? Yep. Okay, let's go.
Yep.
But even if the answer was no,
let's hear what you got to say anyway, right? Well,
absolutely.
I'd love to have you up to the ranch and
that'd be cool.
See some of your stuff. And I don't know. Trevor says you can shoot well. I'm gonna see.
I don't know. The thing.
I'm just kidding.
The thing about shooting for me is I got to work hard to be okay at it. Yeah, I'm a concealed weapons, defensive handgun instructor. Right. And my class, I'm very good at teaching my class. Am I the best shot in the world? Right. Am I the fast? I'm definitely not the fastest.
Man, there's some out there.
Oh, it's like my friends, the people that I consider good shooters, it's amazing how fast they could shoot a gun accurately. But it's all the fundamentals. They've just mastered the fundamentals more than I have, right? Yeah. I'm really good at teaching my class and opening up people's eyes and getting them to be better shooters than they are and teaching them the things that it takes to become a good shooter. Now, rifles is like when people ask me, what do you like to shoot for fun? I want to shoot long range.
Okay.
Like, to me, handguns, handguns are convenient. The ballistic sucks on them.
Yeah.
They're just easy to carry around. And to me, they're necessary to have on us, right? In my eyes. I love the long range stuff. You know what I mean? But what I've heard is you have a 600-yard target where you could back up a little further. I don't know what that equals to. But like, when I hear that, I want to do the course with you guys, forward and backwards. And I want to work on that.
Right.
Really, I want to have a first shot impact on that 600-yard target.
Yeah.
Like that to me.
Cold bore, just let it rip.
Yeah, like I got my Kestrel and I got my ballistics, I got my data.
All your cheat codes here.
Yeah, I got all my science and my calculator and my protractor and, I'm that guy.
Let's cold bore with nothing. Let's see if we're good on that. Right out of the gate, grab one, no nothing. We'll lay down on the ground, we'll just fire one shot at it. And whoever loses buys lunch.
Okay, I mean,
just kidding.
I'm already thinking of what I need to dial at 600
I'll even
yards.
shoot my 223.
Okay, I think at 600, I probably got to dial 10 MOA. But
don't even dial. Just hold over. Hold over and let it rip.
Okay.
Just play it.
Yeah, I mean, that would
just
be
being fun.
No, that's cool. But I'm already thinking like, how am I not going to look at the data before I go? Like, am I going to cheat?
My wife gets that way with my fish finder on my boat. She's like, "Why do you need all this crap?" I'm like, "I don't need all this like this and depth and all this water temp and." And she's like, "You use the same dang lure and fish the same dang spots. Why do you need?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, you're probably right."
So I'm gonna make this a quick story. But 2 years ago, I started really getting into the data.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's part of the fun for you, it looks like. Yeah.
Yes.
And I understand that.
I don't want to look at an animal that's more than 300 yards away and be like, that's too far.
Oh.
And again, like the way people talk about high fence, right? Some people say, so let me just tell the story. So I show up at camp 2 years ago and somebody asked me, how far are you willing to shoot this year? I'm like, oh, well, I got all my data. I'm good to 500.
Okay.
And they're like, you got the data. And that was like the joke in camp.
Okay.
Jam's got the data. Jam's got the data.
Data this, data that, as many jabs as they can get about it.
So I'm like, you don't have data on your rifle? Like, to me, like you're not prepared. Like to me, like if I see something 500 yards away, I'm gonna shoot it. So anyway, I'm sitting in this blind and these deer jump onto our property. It's like 740 yards. And I'm like, I know where the 500-yard mark is, and these deer are going to come over, and I'll wait and be patient. And when it gets to 500 yards, I'm going to shoot me a deer. A buck, of course. They jump back the other way. They get spooked, and they go back the other way. Okay. So I'm like, well, I didn't think about that. Like, I thought they're just going to walk up this valley, right?
Yeah.
Well, they jump back over. And I start ranging them, and I get 705 yards on my rangefinder. I'm like,
I wonder.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah. There's no wind. It's a beautiful day. Like I don't even need to worry about wind. So I'm like, I look at my data. I'm like, 12 and a quarter MOA, this and that. I'm like, let me just get behind my rifle and just see how I feel.
Yeah, just see what it looks like.
Bro, and my reticle was like, there was no movement. It was just boom.
You're solid.
So I'm like,
I'm pretty tight. I can probably make this work.
Like this is what you've been practicing for. The data doesn't lie. It's science, this and that. And then I'm like, the deer had one of its legs back. Not that matters at all, but I was like, all right, God, if he stretches that, and I'm listening to worship music while all this is going on. I'm
listening to music while you're hunting?
In my earbuds.
Oh, really?
Earbuds.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in a blind by myself, just, listening to worship music, like being one with the Lord.
I try to take in nature.
Well, I do that a lot. I mean, sometimes you sit in a blind for 3 hours, 4 hours,
Oh, yeah. Way more than that, yeah.
So, I'll take in nature, and I'll also take in Jesus, right? So I'm like,
that's where you just do one and one out. That way you can take both now.
There you go. So I'm like, all right, God, if he stretches that leg, I'm going to take the shot. And
open up a little bit.
When I said that, boom, he takes a step, and I'm like, this is it. And the rest was an out-of-body experience. One shot, 0.85 seconds of flight time. Like, I know all this. Right? Drops right where he stands. Now, who's laughing about the data? You know what I mean? So, like those guys were like, well, Jam's got the data. Like, so then this past year, my shots were considerably less. Like I don't want to shoot 700 yards. You know, I took my deer. I had a pretty good year this year. I took my buck at 2.25, and I took my bull at 4.25, and my second shot was like 467 or something like that. So
there's all those haters and stuff, you know, oh, if you're shooting deer that far, like your original statement, oh, you're shooting him about 100 yards away. That's so far, it's not fair.
Right.
You know, there's the other haters would be like, oh, you're shooting him at 700 yards.
Takes
it's
the
not
sport
whatever.
out of it.
Yeah.
I want meat.
Man, do you? If you're being safe, if you're being ethical, if you truthfully believe you're being an ethical hunter and you've prepared yourself for this, back to preparedness, if you prepared for this moment, let her eat. Maybe it's not for you.
Yeah.
And it's actually not for me. And actually, I'll make a. Do we have time for a little short story on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I'm gonna run you over your deal, but
no, I don't have a deal.
I was in high school. Deals, whatever deal we want to make. A buddy of mine, he was a very, very smart guy in high school. Well, still is, but I mean, he was a really, really smart guy that helped me out. We built basically a 300 Weatherby.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, we got barrels for it, and we hand loaded our rounds, and we went through the old ballistic book, you know, and like there's no computer crap at this. This was all just reading and information and learning ballistics and all this kind of crap. And at the ranch I grew up in Parker, was a cattle horse ranch way out east, and we could shoot 1,000 yards. Ooh. So we took this 300 Weatherby and an old Vari X2 or whatever the heck it was, old Leopold scope, no clicks, none of that stuff. It was just whatever, yeah. And so you just learned to hold over. So he did he did a whole ballistic chart that we taped to the stock of it. It was X amount of feet over X amount of whatever. And we had an old Bushnell rangefinder that the first one was for golf, I think. It wasn't even for hunting that we were using, but then it wouldn't go far enough. So then we got a real one. And man, we paced this all off with ruler, tape measures and all this and walking rulers. Anyway, we shot couple days a week, and not even like more than 5 rounds. We just shoot a couple days a week, and we just dialed and dialed and dialed and dialed, shooting this 300 Weatherby, which isn't, I don't think now is the greatest caliber, but that's what we had, and that's what we were playing with. But anyway, so that finally all came to, and I'm like, I'm gonna take this thing elk hunting. So I went up and hiked my tail off for 3 days and didn't even see an elk. Yeah. Finally, I walked up in the back of this basin, and the wind shifted and it blew at my back, and all of a sudden I saw elk running out the backside of the basin, like over this rock wall and leaving. And I was like, oh crap, I screwed this whole deal. So I went running through the trees, which was not super far to get out of the tree line there. And there's a big rock about yay tall, and I'm standing there watching these freaking elk, and I'm like, oh, you suck, dude. Like, you totally blew this. And then I'm like,
wait a second.
I wonder. I'm like looking at my stock, and I'm like, I've done this. Like, I wonder. So I took my backpack off, set it on this rock, which was yay high, dropped the gun on it. I felt like you felt, man. I got behind it, and it just felt like there wasn't much movement. You know, I was holding pretty solid for what it was. And I took out the rangefinder, and this couple cows were like, just kept looking back, and they weren't like totally spooked at this point. And I took the rangefinder, and the rangefinder wouldn't click on it. And I came down the hill. And finally I picked this big bald rock, and I clicked on it, and it was 800 and something to that rock. So I'm thinking they're 9 something. And I'm like, well, I have shot that far. So I looked at my stock and hold over like 16 feet or something ridiculous. And I don't remember exactly, so don't hold me to that, but it was ridiculous. So anyway, she was going straight up the mountain, and I figured her body was X amount of feet, and I took her body times 2 and then gave her a little extra, and I pinched it, and she dropped.
No way.
And I instantly wanted to vomit.
Really?
I felt so horrible that I sold the gun the next day.
Really?
Because I blew the entire deal. Like, I didn't hunt this thing. In fact, they totally blew me. Like they saw him, or they heard me, or smelled me, or whatever it was. Like, everything that you want to do hunting right, I did it wrong.
Got it.
And it hit me so hard that I was like, even though you made a shot, you're a good shooter, and you're a horrible freaking hunter. And I sat there for an hour. Like, I was beyond myself, and I said, I'm not doing this again. And I literally went home and I sold that rifle and I
bow.
picked up a bow. And up until a few years ago, I have not shot a rifle other than coyotes and stuff like that. I had not shot a rifle up until just a couple years ago.
Wow.
Because I just felt that bad about it. Now things have changed and I'm on a different percentage. And I'm actually talking about building another long range rifle at the moment to get back into it. Not that I want to shoot an elk with it at 900 yards away or whatever the heck. I don't even know how far, but it was further than I felt I should have. And I still made a great shot. But you know, with holdover and not the right data, I just guessed. It's kind of a guess.
Pretty badass. You were one with your gun
for a moment, and then But anyway, it just didn't feel good to me. So I hadn't done it since. But it's interesting.
Yeah. So I felt more like I won the Super Bowl.
Well, that's even better then.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do, and I don't want to use the word justify, but one of the things that I like about that is the only animal that knows that I shot it was the bull that I shot last year because I had to shoot him twice. Everything else that I shot has just dropped after one shot. I shoot 300 Win Mag, and I'm like,
that's what I was actually looking about putting together.
I don't think that's the best round either. To me, if I was going to build a gun, I'd look at the PRC, the 300 PRC 7, or
just want to be a little more traditional.
300 Win Mag's a great
about
round.
As good as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, and it will drop anything in North America.
Yeah.
There's nothing in North America a 300 Win Mag can't kill.
Right.
Yeah,
it's not far off of that Weatherby that I was shooting back in high school. Yeah.
Yep. Johnny Gector's a Weatherby guy.
Yeah.
Yep. So at that distance, they don't know what's going on.
Nope, for sure.
It was just lights out. They were
absolutely
sitting there eating, and next thing you know, they don't know what happened.
Yep.
So, but yeah, to me, I'm like you. To me, if you wanna be so close, you can smack an elk on the ass.
Do you, buddy?
And stab him in the heart with your spear. That's cool. We all have our limits. So like when I think my limit is 800 yards with my 300 Win Mag, because at 800 yards, the bullet has 1 second of flight time. And in my eyes, what I think is ethical, more than a second of flight time is too much.
Something could happen.
Yeah, and that's me.
They could take a step, or
something could happen. The wind could shift. Like there's a lot that could go wrong after that. Ballistically, I think I'm good. I forget where the 1,500 pounds of energy ends at, but it could still go further.
More than enough, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't prefer to shoot something that far. And honestly, I hope I never have to take a 700-yard shot at an animal again. But I will. I will, and I probably won't wait to see if they come closer, because my confidence level, as long as I'm practicing and I'm dialed in, and the wind's a big factor. If it's super windy and I'm not dialed in,
game changer.
If the conditions are right, I would do it again. But to me, the buck I took was 225. I mean, that was like a chip shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it really didn't feel like, to me, that didn't feel like hunting, because literally
it's like too easy.
I went and I did some ranch chores, and I drove back to my camper, and this deer was just
standing there.
And I'm like, I didn't.
Oh, here we go.
And I didn't want to shoot it. I didn't want to shoot it because I'm like, this doesn't really feel like hunting. But then I was like, that morning, it was opening morning, I gave up. I passed on a 4x4 because I wanted a bigger bodied buck, because I wanted some decent amount of meat.
Yeah.
It had good horns, but it didn't have a big body. This was a 3x3 with some brown tine starting, but it was big bodied. Even the process was like, this is a big deer.
Yeah.
I didn't want to shoot it because
it didn't feel right.
But I did.
But I did.
Yeah. But I did. And to me, it's about the meat. To me, it's about the meat, and it was an ethical shot. And, it was nice to get something on the first day.
If you're back to being prepared and you feel good about it, and people always archery guys are yakking about crossbow guys and fly fishermen are yakking about bait fishermen and all this crap, man. And I'm like, man, anymore. I mean, I do make a lot of harassing jokes about that.
You got to.
Because I am actually really by heart a archery hunter now. So even when my buddies
a recurve, right? You shoot a recurve?
No, I don't go that far. I wish so.
You're not hunting.
I know. Then you got recurve guys or compound guys. Exactly right. It never ends, right? But I'll make the joke, a buddy of mine will send me a picture of a deer he shot and he's got his rifle there. I'm like, oh, well, it's too bad that doesn't count, stuff like that. But really I honestly, man, if you're doing it ethically,
right.
Do you, man?
Yeah,
I mean, have a good time. And we're all out there trying to do the same dang thing, doing it the way we want. And I talk about this with dogs all the time.
Sure.
There's not really a bad hunting dog. Just hunt with the one that you want to hunt with. Like if you want to hunt with a flushing dog, then pick that kind of dog. If you want to hunt with whatever, then do you. Like I don't personally, so I'm not going to, but I like this, so I'm going to go with a pointer or whatever, So everyone's always got to be all up in arms about something, but
my joke to
you, man. I don't really care.
My joke to my archery buddies, because I got a few of them, they're like, bro, you should really get into archery. I'm like, no, I like killing stuff because I haven't seen them get an elk yet.
It's hard. Yeah. It definitely is hard, but there is some of that satisfaction though when it does happen. You have those very low lows,
sure,
and then when it does happen, you have a higher peak because the low so much.
I've experienced the lows of not being successful, or typically, people ask me how long I'm gonna hunt for, and it's the whole time because I've never got done early. You know what I mean? So, all right, Jason.
All right.
We can sit here for 2 more hours, I'm sure. You're definitely welcome to come back on, but I'll wrap it up. Final thought for today. We're disciplined when it comes to the temporary, our bodies, our finances, our homes, our safety, our careers. But Christ calls us to that same level of seriousness with our souls. You don't stumble into holiness. You don't drift into eternity prepared. You build it daily, prayer by prayer, choice by choice, active obedience by active obedience. The same way we train, stock, plan, and guard this life, we must do even more for the next. Because one day, everything here will be left behind, and only what we've built in Christ will remain. So I got for today, everybody. Thanks for... Oh, no, I got one more thing. Sorry. Before we go, I do have Rebel Yankee shirts.
Ooh, some swag. Heck yeah.
That I made. They'll be on my website.
Those are awesome.
This one's not for you.
Oh, I don't even get one. You're going to show it off and I don't even get one?
It's got the Rebel Yankee bull on it. So, they'll be on my website. We'll put that up. It's fullarmorft.com. So they'll be available for purchase, or I should probably start ordering some for my guests. That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
You should do that still.
Yeah. Or start doing that. Have to mail 20.
From today moving forward, you don't have to go back.
24 back. Yeah. Cool, man. All right, Jason, thanks again for being on. And hopefully
it was good meeting you.
You as well, man. Be nice to have you on again. And I do look forward to coming out. Maybe I'll bring you a shirt when I come out.
There we go.
Cool, man. We'll catch everybody next time.
Okay. See you guys.